we are the ones that encourage you to like and share them on social media and with all your friends and neighbors, because it's time for The Science of Caring. Careology, presented by Carebag Incorporated and hosted by Roxie Brown.
Hi, Cliff. Good evening. How are you doing?
Oh, we've done it again.
Another week.
We're so proud of our IRSC basketball players, and all I can really say is, they worked hard this year. This was a phenomenal year for them.
Well, that is good.
All right.
I love that. Congratulations to them for just pushing and putting their best foot forward. We love that.
Yes. And now, for everything you care about, once again, here's Roxie.
Yes. And thank you, Cliff. And if you are driving home from work, we want to tell you, tune in to us. Be safe. And if you are listening to us for the first time, welcome to Careology. This is The Science of Caring. My name is Roxie. My co-host this evening is Bishop Allen Rivers. How are you doing, Bishop?
I'm doing quite well. It's good to see you.
Wonderful. We haven't seen each other for a while, so it's good to see you. And if this is your first time listening to us, we want to say welcome. And Careology is about the science of caring. We go ahead and we bring information and learn information from our community, people in our community, and around our community, business owners, nonprofits, of what's happening. And we hope that it can impact your life or help you, because I sure learn from it every Tuesday that I'm here. So we hope that you stay tuned with us. And we are on every Tuesday at from 6:05 to 7 p.m. right here on WPSL 1590 AM. And if you want to learn more about Carebag, please go to www.givecarebag.com. We are a 501c3 nonprofit here on the Treasure Coast, and our mission is very simple. What we do is we provide access to proper hygiene for our homeless and families in need throughout the Treasure Coast, and we go as far as Boca. We have 2 mobile shower units, a mobile hygiene pantry, and our office is open all day on Thursday by appointment only. And if you're needing any assistance, all that information is right there on our webpage that you can go ahead and get it. You can sign up, make your appointment. It's that simple. And we just welcome you to find out more about us. And how was your week so far, Bishop?
It's been wonderful.
It's been wonderful?
It's been miraculous.
Oh, well, that's wonderful.
Dealing with some situations, life situations
Oh,
we all have.
oh yes.
But sometimes it's just a joy to see things turn around.
Well, everything is going to turn around. As the tide rises, things just keep going.
Yes, that's exactly.
That's true. So I am going to get right into it, because I have been really excited about this show. And this is Black History Month. And I wanted to represent Black History Month as a Black woman to just talk about a lot of things. There's so much good about Black History Month. And we have Hispanic, we have St. Patty's Day, we have a whole lot of things that go on. But this for us is very important, and I hope that you will stay with us and listen. So I'm just going to make my disclaimer, and my disclaimer is I want to say first, I want to be brave enough to start a conversation on the things that matter. And this matters to me. I have been thinking about, I didn't do it last year. I didn't talk about anything about Black History Month. This is my first year on the radio. I was very conservative. I wanted to get a feel for it, know my audience. But I've been with you guys over a year now, so you know all about Roxie. And I think it's important for us, for me, for you, for our generation, for our upcoming generation, to go ahead and talk about this, because it does matter. I was talking to one of my friends yesterday, and she said something to me, and it blew my mind. And I was like, wow, I can't believe she said it. She said, Roxie, do you know why I believe? She said, this is her personal opinion. She said, do you know why I believe they don't want to talk about Black history on what we want in the schools? And my response is, no, tell me why. She said, me and my friends might see our grandparents, might see our great-grandparents, might see our moms and dads throwing rocks, setting their dogs off on Black children. And she said, a lot of them are afraid, what are they going to see? But I think it's so important to learn. Now, I went to a private school, so I learned Black history. When I used to tell my friends certain things, no, they didn't teach us that in school. They weren't allowed to. So everything started coming out when we had the movie, The Hidden Figures. And it was about 4 or 5 black women that worked with NASA, that were mathematicians, that helped bring that rocket to the moon. And it was, and you're right, Hidden Figures was exactly the right name for this movie because you hid them. You didn't want anyone to know. You hid their accomplishment. And so many women of just so many different diversities would have been helped. And so many people would have wanted to be mathematicians, want to be astronauts. You don't know what they could have accomplished because individuals, they go after what they see. If you see someone doing something, I want to do that. Everyone wants to be a basketball star. We have Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, and so many others. They see that, and they're like, oh, I want to do that. So just imagine the amount of women or boys and girls, Hispanic, Italian, or just of any different persuasion that would have known about these women in Hidden Figures and what they could have accomplished. You hid something from society, and you don't know the impact that could have made on a child's life. And we're missing that. So just to let you guys know, I got 5 pages here. Oh, it's 4. I'm sorry. Oh, no, it is 5. I got 5 pages of information that I want to share with my beautiful community on the Treasure Coast. And first of all, I'm going to say I love you. I don't want you to be upset with me. These are just facts. These are just facts. I'm not even going to have anyone call in because it's unnecessary. You cannot tell me anything when I have facts. And I think, and I'm just leaving it just like that. So from the Hidden Figures that made an impact, which was essential, we have many black inventors that a lot of people don't know about. And when I say we have a lot of black inventors people don't know about, you have to remember we had civil rights at the time. We had a lot of black individuals that were slaves coming out of slavery. They didn't have the right to vote. They didn't have money to have the rights to do certain things. So that impacted on what they had to do. So let's talk. What do you have, Bishop? Because both of us did our history on this.
Okay. Actually, I thought about this. It was a very important subject that we're talking about. And I actually did not go into the history of famous people.
Okay.
I didn't do that. We do that a lot. But what I did go into was my own history and how it impacted me. Because I'm a child of the 60s.
Okay.
All right. I saw a lot of things that people read about, but I was there for actually there to see it.
Oh.
I was a part of that.
You were part of the history.
I was a part of it. I saw the impact of what things meant to people, and I saw the lack of caring. It was a lot of things at that time. During the 60s, it was so many avenues that impacted that era. You know, there was the entertainment world. We had some of the best music that was made during the 60s. People had so much fun during the 60s.
Free spirit.
I mean, you can't. I don't even know if I can express it in words, but the way it was almost like a joy on one hand to live in that period and to be able to experience some of the foundation of not just blacks, but of this country and what this country stands for. But I want to talk about just today, you know, the things that are happening today that we see, like this society is plagued by a lot of racism.
Racial tension.
You'll see a lot of things that are happening today that were unjust, that is unjust. And you just sharing me with a story about a young man being
at the mall.
Beaten up at the mall.
So I'm just gonna because it's on the news. It's been on the news for the last week now. There were 2 young men, teenage boys, normal teenage boys, and they got into a fight at a mall. Nothing is unusual about that. Thank God there were no knives, there were no guns, there were no weapons. It was just 2 young men, like how they used to do back in the Stone Age, just fighting. Testosterone was at its best. 2 police officers came. One young man was a black student and one was a white student. And the two white officers came, one male, one female, and they immediately took the boys apart and stopped the fight. And when they pulled the boys apart and stopped the fight, because it's on video, the boys stopped. But this is what they did now. They took the white young man and they put him to sit down on the couch at the mall. They took the black young man, put him on the floor, handcuffed him, the male officer put his knee in his back. The female officer, after she sat the young man down, went around to the other officer with the young man on the floor and put her knee in his back while he's laying on the floor, not fighting and not doing anything. While they're doing this, handcuffing them with both of their knees in his back, the young man, the white young man that they had sitting on the couch, gets up to look at the situation that's going on. If there wasn't a time for protest, this is the time. I have never said that. I was so angry, I had to turn off my television. Because right there is the injustice of what we are seeing. Right there is the reason why we are having this conversation. Bishop, I don't talk politics. This is not a politics issue. And I'm not saying that everybody is racist and hates everyone. We have a small percentage. I'm going to say 3%. That's what Roxie is saying. My personal belief, 3% of our nation. And the rest is as caring and love fun as ever before. But that situation there, if the roles were reversed, this country would be in an outrage. Why isn't this country in an outrage of what just happened? It is sick and it is sad.
Yeah, well, Roxie, as much as time has changed, situations have not changed.
Yeah.
The situation you're speaking about
has been happening.
It's not something that,
No.
I'm shocked by, I'm surprised by, because I lived in a world where this happened. I lived in a world where if you went to one neighborhood,
you couldn't go to the next.
No, you go to that neighborhood, you may get beaten, you may get cheated, you may get chased, or you may even get hurt.
Look what happened to Aubrey.
Absolutely, and that's what the point I'm trying to make is that over this time, things have not changed.
No, they haven't.
And one of the impacts in the 60s, well, two actually were there. It was Black Power, and it was the civil rights.
Right.
And both of them affected black people, but they affected them in a different way, and people looked at them in a different way because young people became tired of injustice that was given to young black people, or black people in general. And you had civil rights where people were trying to protest out of a situation. And for many young people, and I can speak as a young people of that era, were tired of waiting.
Right.
They wanted change, and they didn't want to wait for change. They didn't want the change legislated. They want the change enacted.
And now,
and
right
they
now.
want it now. And so the popular expression in that time was Black Power.
Right.
All right? And what that means, it wasn't against anybody else, but it was time for people to have
just to stand up,
to have their own destiny in their hands. We have no control over what's going to be happen to us. You see two people at the same place doing the same thing, and the only difference between them
is the color of their skin.
And one is treated automatically as the perpetrator, maybe the starter of that incident. That was today, but it happened yesterday as well. Yesterday we still had that same problem where if there was a choice to be made, the default would be to one area and not to the other area.
To the other.
And that still exists today. We still need change. We still need to protest about some things, and you see it in politics. And you're talking about when Obama was in office and he wanted to appoint a Supreme Court justice, and they cut him.
Yeah.
This is the
highest. This is what we're going through now, because I know we don't do politics, but this is Black history, so we have to talk about it. We have our sitting president right now that wants to nominate a black woman who is by all counts, whoever he chooses, more than qualified to have in that role. And I sit down and I listen to the rhetoric that happens from this. And I just sit down and I say, wow. And talking about what you said about neighborhoods, I was just, my TV's on and I pass it. And all of a sudden I heard that the judge in the Arbery case is actually now going to be giving counseling, mental counseling, to the jury, because what they are hearing, what they are seeing, and what they are reading about what these men said on their racial tone is so disturbing that the jury has now asked for counseling. And as the years go by, you think it was going to get better. And I think it has only gotten worse. I talked to other people that are much older than me, and they said the violence was there, that you can see it, so you knew it was coming. This violence, you don't know it's coming because it's hidden. They hide. They don't wear the white sheets anymore. They're right in front of you, but it's hidden. You don't know who is who. You used to know who was who before.
But to a degree, Roxie.
Yeah, to a degree, yeah.
All right, because you had certain segments of the country and just certain geographical segments where the feeling of the people in that area was evident. All right, they didn't make any bones about it. If they don't like you, they don't like you. They don't want to be with you. They don't want to mix with you. That's it.
Yeah.
And other areas, they would not say it, but they would show it by their attitude.
Show it, yeah.
Because if there was a place you wanted to live at and you had the money, they call it redlining.
Yeah.
They put a red line on a map. And if you were of a one persuasion or the other, you could live within the red line or you be kept out of the red line. All right. So the racism and the discrimination was more subtle, but the impact of it was just as brutal as it is today.
So let me give you something. I went to a restaurant last week right here in Fort Pierce, right in at the railroad track. Beautiful restaurant. I walked in. I'm not going to say the name because I'm going there. I'm going there tomorrow. And I walked in and they said we had an appointment. We went and we sat down, and my eye happened to see someone at the bar that worked there, and I smiled and I said hello, and she just looked at me. She didn't say a word, and I found out that she is the owner. So I'm purposely going back to the restaurant to see the treatment that I get, and I will talk about it next week, and I will name the restaurant next week. Wow. Because there's a time where you need to speak up. There's a time where you need to say something because you want my money, but you need to respect the person giving the money. I'm big about that. So, and that's why I'm purposely going back to the restaurant. The food was good. The waiter I had was amazing. The food was good, but you need to respect the same way you would want to walk into someone else's, the same way you want someone walking into your establishment and feeling welcome to continue to do business. Everyone wants that, not just me, everyone. But I want to get into, I want to really do the facts. I've been really excited about that. So as we're gathered here today, like we're in church, as we're gathered here today, we just got a little bit of, topics, a little bit of trivia, just to inspire you this is our last show for February, here on the 22nd of February. So I just want to throw a couple things out. But before I go, everyone knows WIC. Cliff, you know WIC. You've heard of WIC, right?
WIC, yes.
WIC,
WIC,
and that is for women, infants, and children. Oh. Do you know who started WIC? If you know, WIC? Don't say it.
Right, it's probably locally here too.
Actually, it is now nationwide. It is nationwide, but do you know who started the WIC program?
Who started the WIC?
The Black Panthers.
Really?
Yes, sir. And everybody can go look that up. Google it right now.
You can always find something good to come out of what's perceived as something bad.
They started it because they saw the women, the children, and the women, the infants, and the children were not getting the nutrition that they needed. So they started it in the community, and then it just bellied out.
Okay.
Which is amazing.
Wow. No, it's amazing. And that's not the only program that they started.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
I
just want to give the one trivia because that, to me, I thought that was, I just found it out. So when I found it out, I was like, wow, I like that.
Wow.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? Because WIC is nationwide.
That's right.
See, you were living during that time. I wasn't. So not too far away, but it was when I read it, that a little bit of pride. I was like, "Ooh, I like that." That is good. But go ahead, Bishop. What else did they start?
They started a lot of community programs.
Yeah.
Not only to benefit the younger children, they benefited the community,
especially the elderly too.
The elderly,
yes.
And in education as well. They were very instrumental in higher education.
Yes.
Out in California. A lot of people received their advanced degrees due in part to the work of the Black Panthers. And I think what was his name? It was Huey P. Newton.
Okay.
All right, was one of the ones that was active in that time. At that time, there was and a few other people.
Right.
But the thing that's most notable about them to the general public is
the violence and the guns and the holding up and the peace signs. Because let me tell you, everybody that has a baby in America at that time has gone through WIC. The majority, I'm going to say 90% of this nation has gone through WIC. Thank you, Black Panthers. Let's all salute them right now, whether you want to or not.
I think I remember quite vaguely, like in the 80s, maybe even 70s. Well, it was late 70s when I started.
Well, it's been around. It's been around for a while. Yeah, they've been around for a while, and now it is nationwide in every state. Every state has WIC for women, infants, and children. So that's a little Black history trivia. And the next one is Phyllis Wheatley was the first African-American to publish a book of poetry, poems on various subjects, religious, moral, and this happened in 1773. She was born in Gambia, and she was sold to the Wheatley family in Boston when she was 7 years old. She was emancipated shortly after, and then her book was released. So you come from a whole nother country, and you are our first African-American author. These are so many little things we didn't know.
Some people are driven to learn how to do what they're born to do.
Like Maya Angelou, her story has always fascinated me. She is I'm so happy she is on the coin. I am dying to get one. Every time I get a quarter, I'm flipping it over looking for her. I have to get one. But her story, and a lot of people don't know, they just think she's a fantastic poet and author and writer, but she was raped as a child. And she went ahead and she told them who her accuser was, and they arrested him, and he got out of jail. And when he got out of jail, he was murdered. And she thought because she spoke his name, that her voice caused his murder, and she didn't speak for years. And when she finally did speak, that is what came out of her. The poetry, the books, that is part of her story. And that is an amazing, I know you know that, Bishop.
Yeah.
And that is an amazing story. So people just don't just love her poetry, don't just love what she embodied. She had a past, she had a history, she had a tragedy. And her tragedy, sorry, I'm tongue-tied, her tragedy, I had to say it slow, caused her to basically imprison herself.
Right.
But when she got her voice back, she exploded.
Amen.
She exploded.
One of the other things that we'll just take a quick look at is the documentation of the history of Black people. Has not been exposed to Black people.
Yes.
It's been held back.
Yes.
As though that we the only learning that we have, or a way that we have to express intellect, has to come from one society rather than our own society. But if you don't know you have a history of doing things, if you don't know your history, you don't know how you impact it. What I remember as a child is I used to hear a lot of stories, stories of my family, and stories of others, part of my family. My family grew up in South Carolina.
Oh, okay.
Okay, in Charleston, South Carolina.
Deep South.
Deep South, and was one of the ports where they brought slaves in. All right, and people in my family knew enough about that to keep that and make that an important part of telling it to you, because I've heard a lot of stories. Some I can still tell, some of traditions that were done in West Africa. Like when I was a boy, I learned how to plait. They call that plaiting, as a braiding.
The braiding.
I would plait. what they would do with the planning was make bowls out of it, some type of a bowl, a basket, or something like that. And that pattern, that if you go to West Africa, the pattern we made in South Carolina is the same pattern that they made on the West Africa. It transferred from West Africa all the way
to South
Carolina, and the tradition went on. The other thing was the making of quilts and how a story was told, a history story was told by a piece of cloth that someone sewed together that was significant at a certain point of our family history or history of our people. And they could read the quilt and tell you a lot of story, a story that was passed on. Some people were obsessed with keeping those quilts, not because they were just warm,
because it had a message behind it.
It sent a story. So because we as people, as Black people, don't hold our history the way maybe another group of people may do, doesn't mean
because it's been hidden. It hasn't been taught in schools. Sometimes generation by generation gets it wrong. Some people think it's not important enough to tell. So while I was getting ready for this show, I found out about the cornrows and the braids.
Right.
In the slavery days, when slavery was just about to be abolished, and the slaves were running from the south to the north, because they could, two things I found out, because they couldn't read, they used to cornrow the hair and make maps in their hair from the cornrows.
Right.
So they could always tell each other where you should go, and how they did that, I don't know. And another thing, hush puppies. Cliff, I got another one for you. I'm going to let Cliff get ready. Do you know how hush puppies came about? Do you know, Bishop?
No, I don't.
Oh, I'm about to blow everybody's
mind. I know
mind.
how real puppies are.
No, not real puppies. Hush
wait
puppies made out of fried cornmeal.
Yeah.
Do you know how the word hush puppies came about?
Well, the puppies wanted some, and they kept making noise, so they kept saying, "Hush, puppies."
Okay, so
that's my guess, my wild guess.
50% half wrong and 50% wrong. So you're wrong. So hush puppies, you like how I said that, 50% half wrong. I gave you. Okay, hush puppies. I want everyone to listen. If you're driving, pay attention. Hush puppies came along while the slaves were running to go north. They carried with them fried cornbread. The sweetness and the smell of the cornbread were thrown in opposite directions when they heard the dogs coming, because the dogs would now run for the cornbread. So it was to hush the puppies.
Very good. Well,
I learned two things, and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. And I love it.
0016.
And I was like, wow, they made it, and they would make enough. They would have some to eat, but they really didn't eat a lot of it. But they would throw it in directions so that when they set the dogs to find them, the dogs would now run towards the smell of the food.
Excellent.
I got one for you.
Oh, sorry, Cliff. I banged on the table, guys. I'm sorry. I'm in trouble.
I read this today. You know, outside on the lawn, they used to have like a little jockey.
Yeah, the statue. The lantern.
And some of them were painted black.
Oh, yeah.
But some of them were painted with different outfits on, different colors.
Yeah.
All right. Now, it's really not something that you really should consider to be objectionable, because it was talking in a language. If that lawn jockey had a certain color,
that means don't come this way.
It means you can only stay here for a day as you're passing through.
Okay.
If it had another color here,
you're welcome, or you don't come.
You can come here to get something to eat, but you
can't stay.
All right. If you come to another color, it would tell you, we will take you to a boat that will take you to Canada and to freedom.
Wow.
So when we see, we had a lot.
That's amazing. That, you know what? It's Anna. And the reason we're sitting here and me and Bishop are laughing and we're talking about Black history, we're talking about slave. When you put your mind to something, your mind is, you come up with ingenious ways to do things. So I'm just going to skip a little bit. All those scammers that are out there that are coming up with ways to scam you, this is what they did. They sit down and they think of ways to scam you and they think of ways to call you. I'm so tired of getting this email. We now paid your subscription of $500 and something for your computer on Norton virus. But if you want a refund, call us. First of all, whoever falls for that, come see me. I got a whole lot of something I'm going to find to sell you. You know, it's time we have to think, but that's what it is. People thought about stuff and it was just amazing on how they did these things. And I learned so much. I learned Black history in school, but you know what? As time goes on, Bishop, so much has come out now and people know so much. So that's why we're getting a lot of information. So I have one more. Hold on 1 second. I got one more for you because I see you bubbling over there. So, which one is it? Because I always love talking about cotton, electricity, and everybody keeps telling me, oh yeah, we know who invented cotton. I'm like, no, you don't. You don't know. And peanuts. Okay. I've always known this, but I just love it because I love peanut butter. This is what actually, I'm going to share this with Cliff and you. This is what actually made me start loving peanut butter. Okay, because I love peanut butter. George Carver is his name. He was an agricultural scientist, and he was responsible for creating over 500 products, Cliff, made from peanut butter, sweet potato, cooking oil, paint, and soap.
Did you say Carver or Carter?
I said Carver.
Okay.
Carver.
Right.
No, not Carter. I see what you're trying to do. He's still the peanut president. We're good.
Okay.
Yeah. No, he was an agricultural scientist and he invented so many things with the peanut butter. But this is what happened because of the rights of Black individuals. A lot of inventions like electricity, cotton, a lot of things we couldn't go ahead and do because we didn't have the rights as Black individuals. So because the owners of the slaves or whoever, because they had the money, they took the money, they did the right, they put their name on it, and now they're reaping all the benefits. And this is not even about money or reaping the benefits. This is about just getting information out. Some people think that Black people have no sense whatsoever. I'm here to tell you, you are completely misinformed. The fact that you're listening to me lets me know that you're a smart person.
And there's hope for you.
And there's hope. Well, if you're listening to Careology, you're a smart person.
Well, yeah, you already know about what it's all about.
You already know what it's all about. But what it is, I have a lot of people say to me, because I have a lot of different friends of different persuasion. Well, one of them said, well, Roxie, if we teach that in school, it's going to make white people think, oh my goodness, look what we did. I said, you've been teaching slavery in school all this time. You've been talking about how they lynched us, how they burned down churches, and it didn't bother you. So why talk about, let's get to the root of it, because it's history. Why are we trying to put a blanket over history? Why are we trying to put a blanket over it? We need to hear the good, just like the Holocaust. That is not a nice story. It happened. It's true. But we are told history to learn, to have compassion. That's how we learn about individuals. That's how we learn to have compassion, what the grandparents go through, what other people's go through. I had a good friend and her grandmother's birthday was my birthday, May 23rd. And she went through the Holocaust. Wow. And just as I was getting to know her and hearing the stories, she passed.
Wow.
And yes,
and just because it just popped in my mind, there was a guy in our neighbor, his name was Izzy. It was a Jewish guy, and he had a candy store, and he had a window at the front of the store, so you wouldn't have to go in. As a kid, you could walk up to the window and you can get your candy and you can talk to him. And one day he had a short sleeve shirt on. And he had numbers on his arm. And we asked him, what is that? What is that for? And he told us the story about the Holocaust. And he says, if anybody ever tells you it didn't happen,
it happened.
You can see, these will tell you, these are the numbers I had. I lost my mother, my father, my sister and my brother
Mm.
alone here came to America
Alone.
alone to be able to build whatever building
He
he
had.
had and send his children to school. But it happened. All right. And that's the thing.
It
That
happened.
if you don't communicate with people, you
They're never
never
gonna
get to know
know.
about the
Yeah.
people. And you'll never
Yeah.
get to know. So you have to talk to people.
Yeah,
I
Cliff.
remember over the years being a little kid and seeing, those numbers on
Yeah,
people's
people.
arms.
Yeah.
And they had a sunken in face and a very horrified look in their eyes that was
Mhm.
deeply embedded in there.
Because what they probably have witnessed and saw, it was just horrific. And even though this is Black History Month, it's just not about Black History Month. It's about letting individuals know when there is a story, when there are facts, when there is history to be told. And I'm sure you two young gentlemen will agree with me. People, I'm making brownie points here today. I'm bringing coffee and calling people young.
Wow.
I'm making brownie points with everybody. But when there's a history and when there's a story to be told, I think it needs to be told. And if you tell it correctly, no one should be offended.
Right.
I'm not going to say anything on here to offend anyone because I have friends of all persuasion. Let me tell you something. If my car gets in, if God forbid something happens to me and I pick up the phone, or I don't go on social media, but let's just say I go on social media and say, I've been in a wreck. Okay. I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, I wonder what Black friend or white friend is coming. My girls, my boys are just coming. My friends are my friends, not because of the color of their skin. It's because of their heart and their mindset.
Yeah.
You can be Black and be trifling, and you can be white and be trifling. It doesn't matter. It's not your skin color. It is the heart that you have. It's the mindset that matters. And that is what we're missing. That's it. If you can still teach history and you can still teach what you teach with compassion and with love, that means that the next generation is not going to go down the same road. We are in 2022. 2022, and we have to have a court get mental counselors for a jury because what they're hearing on the negativity of racism is so bad. The first time in history, Bishop, you are putting counselors in with a jury in 2022.
Yeah, that's why we need this conversation.
We need it. And it's not bashing. This is what I want to say. I am here on Careology on WPSL, and we are not bashing. I do not race bash. This is not race bashing. This is not bashing any form, male, woman, child, gender. This is not bashing. This is telling a fact of things that have happened that many of us, I learned every day I come on this show. I learned. There's so much information I learned. I learned about the map in the hair. I was like, wow, I just learned about the jockeys on the lawn. There's so much information that we learn. And our children are owed that. They're old. Children are not born to hate. Children are born to love.
They're born innocent.
They're
until
born
they're taught
innocent until they are
how to
taught.
follow what their parents do, like their parents do, and be just like
Yeah. Now
mom
just
and dad.
imagine you're in school and you're learning what happened in history, and you say to yourself, how can I change that? Why did that happen? I'm not going to let that happen in my time. But because our children don't know, when they do something, they think it's new.
Or why didn't
And
they teach us
Why
this?
didn't they teach us this? And that's what's
Yeah.
happening. So many people were angry when the movie came out, Hidden Figures, because the NSA hid these women that were mathematicians that took this rocket to the moon.
You know what, Roxie, and that's only one story.
That's one
All
of
right.
millions.
All right. My mentor,
Uh-huh.
Arthur Shives Trappier,
Mhm.
all right, a man from our neighborhood,
Mhm.
was a Renaissance man. First of all, he was a nuclear scientist
Uh-huh.
Okay.
off the block,
Okay.
but for real, he worked for the Atomic Energy Commission
Mm.
out in
Cool.
California. He taught radiology. He taught aviation. He was a sailor, a skydiver, a botanist. He knew about boats. He knew about the various plants. He was a friend.
Yeah.
All right. And he never changed who he was in terms of just his character.
Yeah.
But he came out of our neighborhood, okay, which despite all the things that were against him, he had a doctor's degree in physics. All right.
Oh.
All right. A doctor's
big
degree.
one.
And he could sit here with you and me,
Yeah.
and we'd have this conversation like he's just your old buddy.
Wow.
All right, that was my friend and my mentor, a man for all seasons. So we do have people that are part of our community that made great contributions to society that you don't hear about, but they have impacted the lives of many people. I just want to say this: in the South, when people came over here, the cotton gin or cotton was the greatest commodity
Yes.
that was grown here until they came up with the sorry, preacher, I'm always banging on the pulpit.
Oh, I'm sorry. So we just busted out laughing because we're live in the studio. Cliff always has on his headset. So if we tap on the mic or if we tap on the table, it's like that echoing in his ear. And you see him start squinting and moving. So we're all, if anyone sees me picking up Bishop's hand, or all of a sudden you see me raising my hand like I'm about to say hallelujah, it's because I was tapping.
We don't want to hurt you, Cliff.
Yeah,
right.
we're not going to slap nobody.
That's right. She's not gonna slap you.
What I'm saying is, they came up with an instrument called a cotton gin, and the cotton gin revolutionized cotton picking.
Oh yeah,
because a lot of Black people were used to pick cotton. So what did they have to do? They had to find another place for Black people. And down where I came from, Charleston, South Carolina, they came up with growing rice. But because you couldn't grow cotton in watered ground.
Yes.
But you had to know a lot about irrigation to be able to control the water that rice was. So they grew rice. And when you hear the term Carolina rice, that's one of the origins.
Uncle Ben's
Carolina
rice.
Uncle Ben, who's in Carolina. But that was one of the greatest commodities that came out of that era when they thought that one thing was over. Somebody had a mindset and knew enough how to come in and irrigate land so that it was not useless anymore, that it can be productive and give us some more, more things to be thankful for.
And I'm gonna bust another bubble here with Cliff, because I'm using Cliff as my scapegoat today. So in 1984, it was found.
She's picking on me because my age, because she knows I remember 1984 like it was yesterday.
1984. His name is Bill Pickett. It was the inventor of the rodeo.
That's right.
He is the only touring African-American rodeo in the world.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
The only African-American rodeo on the world.
Is he still got a show going somewhere?
He's still, well, when I printed this, they said it's still, we can look it up and we can see, but we
can bring him to town.
That would be nice.
Well, they have a rodeo in New York.
Yes, I do.
Black rodeo that comes to Harlem every year. A Black circus that comes to Harlem and other areas as well. But the Black rodeo, they had cowboys in Brooklyn. Over by Canarsie. I know one of them.
Wow.
When you learn about horses, I had a friend that grew up that was always troublesome. He went to this corral and started with horses, and it absolutely changed his life. He got out of the street and of the things of the street. He became in love with horses, how to care for them and receive their love back. And that became the focus of his life. Right in Canarsie, Brooklyn.
Wow.
That's right.
I remember seeing the horses.
They did.
I have horses are beautiful. Yeah. I have a friend, she's actually coming on my show for the month of March. So to let everyone know, I'm just gonna pivot a little bit. March is Women's Month, and we're gonna have some amazing women of all diversities coming on for the month of March. But I just want to say, next week, Tuesday, we have a family pack. For those who can see, we're going to put it here. It is 4 tickets to enter, not to go on any rides, to enter the St. Lucie County Fair.
Well, it's a gain admission, yes.
To gain admission, only admission, but there's a lot to see just with admission. And we'd like to give a family of 4. If it's a bigger family, call me and let me know, but I have to have proof that it's a bigger family. But right now we're giving away 4 tickets to enter the fair, and it starts for March.
Wow.
It starts, so
nice.
Yeah, so go ahead and start, and we're giving it away next week, and just when it starts. So I'm going to figure out you got to listen. You got to
Yeah.
listen, and you got to wait till you hear me say, for my second or third, whatever number my guest thinks of, you call in and Cliff will go through it and we'll pick, and they will get a
Yeah,
nice
of
family. We'll
course
have
they will.
entrance
Mhm.
on courtesy of WPSL and Carebag. And we want you to have a great time. So it's tickets to the entry for 4, and we hope you can do it.
All right.
It's just great. It's our community is great. And we want to keep doing this on a good note. Should we take a commercial break?
I don't think we're
We don't have
capable of
time.
doing so right now.
Time has gone already?
No,
Wow.
we still got about 10 minutes left in the show.
Okay.
We're just incapable of
Yes.
breaking into our computer system.
So
and,
Cliff doesn't want us to do anything. So we're just
No.
going to have
It's
a
just
really
too
good
good.
time. It's really good time.
It's
too good. I don't want to
That's
get
Too
up
it.
and do
good.
anything else.
Okay. So another one that I want to go ahead. In 1920, Fitz Pollard and Bobby Marshall became the first Black athletes to play in the NFL. And I watched a documentary on them talking to them, and they said as much as they loved the game, it was the most painful thing to do. They were treated so bad, not only by the players, not only by the coaches, but also the people that came. When they won, it was good for 10 minutes. After that, God knows what they used to call them. I won't repeat it on the air, but that's sad. And you if you love the sport, you need to love the play. That's how I look at it. If you love the sport, you need to love the play. And that's how I look at it.
I remember when Muhammad Ali his name was actually Cassius Clay at the time.
I remember that.
He won the gold medal in the Olympics.
Right.
And he was very enthusiastic about winning the gold medal. And he was the golden boy from Louisville, Kentucky. They called him the Louisville Lip.
Mhm.
And he was talking a lot of trash. And he came back and he was so disheartened because he couldn't sit down in a restaurant
Yeah.
to just have something to drink or to
Mm.
eat. And the story goes that he took the gold medal and he just tossed it in the water, and eventually wound up changing his name, and then spoke about the injustices that he had experienced as a young boy. He was that guy, as much as we see him on TV, when he was alive and thriving at his best, his highest height, he was an amazing person. I had an opportunity to meet him.
I actually know his first wife personally.
Wow.
Mhm.
The first
wife.
The first wife.
The first wife. I didn't say nothing about nobody else or no others. I know the original first wife. Yes, I do. The one that wrote the book. The one he met at the bakery. Yeah. So very nice lady. So let's go over just a couple little things. If Bishop, you got anything to add about anyone, you let me know, because today is a teaching day. Because we have a couple minutes. I've been talking, so I'm gonna let what you got to share with us.
Well,
because we both did our research.
Well, really, what I did was I just wanted to just reflect on some of my life experience, okay, because I lived in that time period, and some of the things that was most impactful for me. And we had the situation with young Black people and the impressions that they had in life concerning who they were. During that time, one of the highlights was, what do I feel about myself? Because it was a stigma with many Black young people about being Black, all right? And what that meant to be Black.
Right.
But that stigma changed when we learned to love ourselves and to be able to say, I'm Black and I'm proud. That was a major, major statement for many young Black people, all right? And it was a turnaround, because prior to that, there was no such thing.
There was nothing as love, Black love like we have now.
No, it was, and Afrocentric attitude was
not
even there.
Yeah.
I, as a young man, learned, and I was working after school with an older Black gentleman that taught me like our ancestors taught us. What am I doing? You want to hit me?
Yeah, once you touch it.
So I'm not going to touch the table. I'm not touching the table. But he
rolled up the paper like Mama used to do.
No, but he told me about places that I could learn about Black history. up in Harlem, they had a library that published a lot of
Yeah.
books by
Black
people
authors.
and a lot of books that are out of print. You could go up there to that library. He told me about the other library called the Stromberg Library, where you could go back to ancient Black history and do research there.
Mhm.
Okay, and that was very impactful on my life.
Yeah.
And what I found was that things were available to you, but not in the standard way that you would ordinarily be educated. But if you search for it, you could find it. And I don't want to be a hog on the mic, so I'm going to let Roxie have the final words on tonight's
Well, Bishop,
discussion.
this was a great show, and I think Cliff will agree, because we don't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable. Did you feel uncomfortable, my friend Cliff?
No.
Okay, that's what we want. It's just new. I learned information, and we wanted to share it.
I've been in therapy with Rudy Howard for
God,
years.
I keep forgetting you're in therapy with Rudy, but it's all about sharing information, being proud, and I thank you guys for staying with us. Next week is March, and we have some phenomenal women that are coming on. So we want you to come. We want you to learn about us. We want you to just stay with us. You want to find more information, please go to www.givecarebag.com. My name is Roxie. It has been a pleasure. And what I want to do is I want to talk about a couple more things. Please remember, we have our tickets coming up, and we have I'm going to talk about our back to school.
Okay.
I have how many minutes I have?
When the music fires up, it'll be 1 minute to go.
Okay,
Go.
so I'm gonna put on my headset.
Yeah.
So this is what I want to say. August 1st, we have our back to school haircut drive going.
Right.
We are giving haircuts for kids back to school. It's Kicking It United. We did it for the Christmas, and it's phenomenal. We've partnered with Boys and Girls Clubs, and we're going to be at the Mid-Florida Event Center August 1st. Carebag wants to get, for our haircuts and pigtails, we want to get 250 backpacks.
Wow.
That is doable in the
Yes,
St.
it is.
Lucie County.
How many?
It is 250.
Backpacks, okay.
We might need more, but right now that is my minimum goal. Anyone wants to go, reach out to us. Go to Carebag, givecarebag.com, get our number. And remember, you are blessed, you are loved, and our community is awesome, and you make it awesome. My name is Roxie. On behalf of Cliff and Bishop Allen, we want to say thank you for being with us. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll be back. Good night, guys.
You've been listening to Careology, the Science of Caring. Heard every Tuesday night, 7 o'clock hour. Tonight was special. We followed an IRSC game, and we're glad we did, and so are you. And hey, next Tuesday night, here in the studios live, Careology with Roxie Brown. Visit helpcarebag.com. Yeah. GiveCarebagInc.com. See you there. WPSL, Port St. Lucie, the top of the Treasure Coast.